Welcome everyone. Episode 15 of the MEE-FIT podcast. Today we've got the full team in. Everyone is here today and we are going to be discussing all things nutrition training around Christmas. We're filming this a little bit early, but Callum is going to be heading away shortly with new baby on the way, so we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But yeah, we're going to spend a bit of time talking about nutrition and training around Christmas, how to navigate that. It's a question a lot of clients will ask us. How do I stay on track? What should my approach be? So we'll dive into that a little bit. So who wants to kick us off with some thoughts on Christmas, how to navigate their training, nutrition, and overall approach?
It's going to be forward thinking, isn't it? And planning ahead. So in theory, by now, or at least in the next month or so, you're going to know what events you're going to. Christmas parties, people like a lot of birthdays around that time of year as well, if you're going away. So you should be able to at least have an idea of where you're going to be week to week. So planning ahead will be helpful, especially with training. If you know you're away for, 4 days, you can plan your training around that, for example. Or if you know you've got a Christmas party, maybe don't plan too much in the days following Christmas party. So yeah, I'd say get your diary out, really.
Organisation, key.
Yeah.
As always, but especially when times are busy.
Yeah, ridiculously, on it.
And getting booked in early as well. If it's booked in, you're going to do it then, aren't you? If you leave it till you got a hangover the next day, yeah, you're not going to do it.
Why do you think so many people do struggle at this time of year? Why do you feel like people find it so difficult to stay on track or don't know how to navigate this time of year?
I think it's a couple of reasons. 2, it's the end of the year and people experience burnout in a way. So they just go with everything. And they come to the end of the year just like, oh my God, I'm just exhausted. And then the winter months, people get tired and demotivated. I think the other one is like, oh, it's Christmas. I'm really busy.
Yeah.
Busy, but like...
It's that stereotype, isn't it?
Yeah, and they just think, sod it. I'm just going to go all out and let myself go in a way, or not be conscious of it, but just have that feeling of like, I can't be bothered.
Or maybe
I'm too busy.
Yeah, or maybe a little bit of like a hopelessly feeling like, oh, I am going to be too busy to do anything. There's going to be too much to do, and you almost talk yourself out of it.
Yeah. Or like, I was going to say, they've had a few nights out, Christmas do's, and they think, oh, well, I've gone off the rails.
Yeah, that's a big
So
one.
I've messed it up. What's the point?
Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it, basically. Like I was going to say, one bad meal doesn't make a bad day, and one bad day or a couple of days doesn't make a bad week. I'm just going to get that in now.
Get it in. Get it in there.
But it's really important because it's so common.
Yeah.
Like people, it's basically like when you're on holiday. Oh, I've had a week and I've gone all out. I've let my hair down. Oh, now I've messed it up. What's the point? Well, there is a point. You've let your hair down. Great. Go out for your Christmas parties, and that's one night. It doesn't have to ruin the next day or the following week. Just go back to where you are, rehydrate, go for a walk, and then a couple of days later, get in a training session.
I think it's probably because over Christmas it's so consistent that you're going out doing something. It's almost like every weekend. So people, I think people just get in their head like it's every weekend. Might as well just.
It's a completely different time for the year, isn't it? People basically come to a standstill for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
They go out drinking, they go out for food. It's all surrounded by parties and so forth. And it's just hard to keep training and keep consistent with it. I think people find it quite tough through that time because it's just a different time of year.
So accept that it just might not be that consistent of a month. Just accept it's not going to be awesome like it is maybe a few months ago or in January and accept that. Just do what you can. Meet yourself halfway and do what you can. Don't just like throw it out the window altogether. And I think people set the bar maybe too high. They've got a lot going on. There's lots of events. And if you're lucky enough to go to all these Christmas parties, like enjoy it. But that's a few nights a week and maybe do what you've done in the past. And if people like to go out at the weekend, they live on budget with their food in the week. If that's how it works, then fine. But don't stress too much about it and beat yourself up and then just think, fuck it. It's about being balanced and having a more realistic approach to it rather than going all out and then feeling like you failed.
Yeah.
But then
one thing I've done in the past is when people have asked is sometimes like almost set yourself a limit or set yourself an expectation that, you know what, maybe I will gain a few pounds. Like, almost think, okay, well, I'm going to try and think I'm not going to gain any more than 5 pounds. Like that's my cut off or that's my expectation. So you go into it with the thought that actually I probably am going to enter 2025 or whatever new year it is, feeling a little bit heavier, a little bit fluffier around the edges, and have that mindset so that you're not then dealing with the inevitable disappointment and therefore negative thought process around it, you know. So some people might be able to not gain any, but I think for a lot of people, especially if there's someone who struggles to maintain their weight, they realistically will gain a little bit of weight.
Like, it's a terrible time to set goals to lose weight around Christmas.
Yeah, definitely don't go on a cut around Christmas.
No, but then also, like, think about how you would feel in January if you had completely gone off the rails and given up.
You feel terrible, don't you?
Yeah, how bad will you feel in January if you don't try and rein it in somewhere? Because like, if the more you let yourself go, the further you're going to go. So if you can rein it back, exactly, you've got to try and get it back then. And January is not the greatest time of year anyway. So you're already feeling. Most people don't feel great in January as it is. Let's try not to add to that.
Yeah, because it does go on that mentality. We see it all the time, don't we? And I've definitely done it myself. Like, oh, sod it, I'll just start again in January. January, new year, new start, new me. It's like, okay, cool, stick with that. But like you said, maybe you don't go off the rails too much, because it's just gonna be a longer journey to get to where you were. Again,
I
meet yourself
think
halfway.
it should be everyone who listens to this or anyone heading into that has all got their own opinion or mindset on how they want to navigate it. And some people might actually want to just go, do you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's cool. But as long as you know the consequences of that and you're aware of what that will potentially lead to, it's up to each person to make their own decisions. But I think as long as you've set your own expectations, if I am going to say fuck it and I'm going to eat a box of Lindor chocolate balls over the evening, like, you're going to end up, you know, half a stone heavier potentially. Like, that is the reality for some people. And if you've accepted that and dealt with it, then fine. If you want to be someone who thinks, actually, I'm going to try and rein it in a little bit, I'm not going to go too crazy, but I'm going to enjoy myself and have a more balanced approach, then I think that's probably what most of us will do. Then great. And then you might have some people who think, actually, I'm not going to gain a pound. Like, I'm going to... And that's
maintain,
cool. Like, you do
you know,
but just know that you're going to then have challenges around that in terms of how to do that around a very difficult period. I don't think it's a good strategy for most people, but some people might think, I want to do that, and that's
I like
cool.
what you said there. Like, if you want to do it, absolutely do it. Just be mindful. The effort you need to put in afterwards. Or it might be the same effort as everybody else, but it just might take you a little bit longer. But as long as you're aware of it and you're mindful of it, then crack on.
I think for me personally, a couple of years ago, I saw a statistic that said that Christmas period is basically 12 weeks. It's November, December, and January.
People view it like that, don't they? Yeah.
And over that 12 weeks, most people gain weight, but they gain half the weight they gain over the year is in that 12-week period, and then they don't tend to ever lose that again. So every year, I mean, it's easy, isn't it, to gain a couple of pounds here and there, a couple of pounds.
Way too easy.
Way too easy. And then before you know it, you're like a stone, 2 stone heavier than you were a few years ago. So that made me massively rein it in. So you're just not losing it. And I don't want it to keep creeping without me really realising.
It's after Christmas, isn't it? With all the leftovers and stuff, you're still eating.
Celebration.
You've got to finish it. It's got to be eaten. It's got to be eaten.
I think the biggest problem is there's a lot of people that do go through that new year, new me thing, and gyms are super busy in January, but then that peters off very quickly as well. So you obviously want to avoid that trait.
Yeah, because you can't lose a massive amount of weight in just 1 month, really. So then if you've gained a lot over Christmas...
It is such... That concept is such a dramatic effect on your body. Because you've gone from... It's almost like you've gone from one extreme to the other. And then people don't understand why they can't maintain that. They've gone from not doing very much at all. So say like you've been a bit of a regular gym goer and you've just knocked it, you've just left it, and you've just cracked on with, you know, gone all out, thought fuck it. And then you come back in January with the same like, oh, I've done this all the time. And you're like, oh my God, I'm just feeling like shit. Like I feel sluggish. My energy's low. I can't lift as much. It's all that sort of stuff. And they're like, oh, well, I've just lost it altogether now. So it's just being mindful of, if you do go all out and think, sod it, I'm not going to train as much, just know that in January, it's going to be a little bit harder to get back to where you were. As long as you're aware of that and be mindful, you have to be patient and kind to yourself. Just keep going one step in front of the other and not think, I'm going to go all out, let me hair down, and then I'm going to smash it like I normally do in January. Then you're just not going to, you're going to have a bit of a shock to the system.
The other option, I suppose, you've got, if you're looking at it, if you're planning ahead and you know that you're legitimately not going to train that much over December, maybe you go for it in November and bump your fitness levels up a bit higher than they normally would, and then there's not going to be as much of a drop off come January. You've got that other option as well if you know what you're doing ahead of time.
Yeah.
It does help.
I think touching on what you said there, Em, about the statistics you saw, and when we did a Christmas presentation here a few years ago, didn't we? And prior to that, I'd always been of the mindset of just, enjoy Christmas and blah, 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 and, which I still am now, but like seeing that data and seeing that, most of the weight people gain is around certain periods of time, Christmas, their birthday, and how most people, it's very easy for us all to say, oh, well, if you gain £5, you can lose it quite quickly. But like most people don't. Like that's the problem, is like most people gain £5, 2, 3, £4 a year. And every year that's not a problem in isolation. But if over 10 years, if you've gained £3 every year at Christmas and you haven't lost it,
Yes,
that's like 2 stone over 10 years. And people wonder why they're suddenly, well, they feel it's suddenly I'm a lot heavier, but actually it's been over the course of 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So if you are someone who struggles to lose weight, it would maybe be an idea to rein it in a little bit more, because the chances are you're not going to lose that weight again unless you get the right help and do the right things.
So what reason do you think it is that people, they'll put it on and then why do they struggle to lose the weight afterwards?
Well, I think most people just don't. Well, we look at the data on weight loss and most people don't lose weight consistently. We've had that discussion loads of times before. Like the data shows us that most people do not successfully lose weight for a variety of reasons. And we talked about that a lot on our previous podcast. The environment we live in, loads of different factors. But I think for most people, they're not going to lose weight. Now, I don't want to be too defeatist. Like, there's always going to be individual cases of people who do research. When we look at what I'm trying to say is, when we look at a wider, broader population level, obesity rates are increasing. And yes, individual gyms, personal trainers are all going to have people who successfully lost weight. Of course we can. But the general population is only getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And a lot of that weight is seemingly gained around Christmas.
Especially if they're not going to the gym and stuff and not...
Like most people just don't care. They just go through their life. They don't train. They don't eat well. They gain 3, 4, 5 pounds at Christmas, or maybe a bit less, but a couple of pounds, maybe a bit around their birthday, etc. And then that's why I think it's contributing to the overall increase in people's weight over time.
It's that trajectory, isn't it? And it's good or bad. That trajectory, just make one little change and it goes that way, or one little change that way. And it's easy. It's a shame where people have to do they feel like they have to do something really drastic to make a massive difference, but actually you just change one little thing and it's a positive knock-on effect or negative. The weight gain or the weight loss, and it's over time.
I mean, obesity levels in 1970s was around 2% of the UK were overweight or obese, and now it's 28%.
Oh, it's nuts.
So
definitely do with the lifestyle though. It's really hard to navigate around how our lives have changed. Like people work, I think, differently than in the 70s. Everything's more remote, digital, less active. Food's changed. Everything's more readily available. People get lazier. We've talked about that.
So that's a different conversation, I suppose, isn't it? But it feeds into this in that maybe people should be a little bit more mindful of what they do over Christmas and New Year, because maybe that is contributing quite significantly to the overall gain that most people are going through as time goes on.
But with lifestyle as well, you're going to be less active outside because the weather's shit, darker night. So even more reason to get yourself into a gym, because the weather doesn't... I know the weather can affect getting there sometimes, but you don't want to... And sometimes you're not in the mood because it's so dark, you can't be bothered to get up, or you don't want to go out of the house because it's raining, but...
There's people there though, isn't there? There's people there to bump you up again. Socialisation. I mean, I know there's a lot of socialisation that goes over Christmas, but in between the weekends when, it's really busy, it's parties and stuff, and then suddenly you go to work, you come home from work, it's dark, and you can see how people's moods would drop through the week as well. I don't think that helps.
Yeah, because seasonal affective disorder is huge, isn't it? And a lot of people suffer from it probably more than they realise. And they think there's something wrong with them, but it's just it's normal for people to get low mood and sad and low motivation because they're just not getting as much sunshine. But exercising boosts the endorphins, the dopamine and all the serotonin and all that sort of stuff, and eating better boosts all that mood boosting stuff. And it's just so being aware that you may suffer from the sad or the low mood, knowing what other tools you can use to get in that better place. It's about having the support as well, isn't it, at the end of the day?
I think if that support, just the picking up on support with the whole fitness around Christmas thing. The percentage and the number of people that actually train in the country is probably quite low comparatively. But over Christmas as well, I think there's this thing of family members that you might not see very much, like, I'm going to go to the gym. Well, no, why are you going to the gym now? It's Christmas. Fine, just stay home or come out with all, I'm going to leave the party a little bit early. I've got a lot going on tomorrow. I'm going to get up early, go to the gym. No, hey, have another drink and all that sort of thing. So I think the support side, because everyone's like, oh yeah, it's Christmas, let's do this. But it can be a little bit more extreme over Christmas as well. You don't have the same support that I suppose that you would have the rest of the year, or it's a little bit more pressure to go out longer, drink more, eat more, that sort of thing.
Or you get more temptation because you haven't seen your mates or your family for ages. You're like, let's go. We've not done this for years.
Yeah.
Let's get on it.
Not seeing you.
I'll sack the gym off tomorrow. And then, like, a few weeks later, you're like,
I've just not stopped drinking. It's just
But again, though, sometimes that's okay, though.
Yeah,
and
that's
have that
That's
understanding
fine.
that sometimes that might be the decision that I take. Brilliant, like enjoy that time.
That's
for what
my
it
worst
is.
nightmare, but that's
then,
me.
At times it might be more relevant to think, actually, I am gonna, you know what I mean? And again, it comes back to you doing what you feel is right.
I know it's a bit, I know we say it all the time, but it is about finding that balance.
Yeah.
And like you said, expectations, just be realistic. Don't be hard on yourself. We all do it, but like, so what? You went all out, like, recover a few days, pick up where you left off if you can.
I think that's always the key, isn't it? Is not letting it spiral into, okay,
massively
it's
the key.
been the whole of December, now it's January. And you think about January, like, we've had people here who, even in January, they think, actually, I'm busy I need to recover after Christmas. I need to get things back in order, and I'm tired and all that. And before you know it, it's like February, and they still haven't made, you know what I mean? So that, I think putting things off, we talked about this on another podcast, but like putting things off until January, like sometimes it ends brilliantly for people, and it's the catalyst they need to make a really positive change, which is great. But a lot of people, it's not as easy as people think it will be to be this completely fresh start. So that's why I always believe the minute you think I want to do something, just do it now. Like, don't wait for any particular day or time, because that time is not going to be any more favourable for loads of different reasons.
Yeah, just don't. I think the lesson to learn is just not beat yourself up, because I know a few people will think, oh no, I failed.
Yeah.
I can't go in like this.
There's just so many
I put on half
temptations
the
around
phone.
Christmas. And like, I think it's all the temptations, having the willpower to not like lead into it. And so if they do, fine, but new types of food. There's just so much going on, isn't there?
Eating a box of celebrations
Chocolate.
for breakfast.
Yeah, which some people do.
Some people do. Yeah.
Fine.
Just taking a spin on it, right? When I used to live in London, I used to come home and stay at my mum's, and I actually used to lose weight, because I know it's random, and it was hard for me to lose weight, but I actually just rested more and was running outdoors more, because she lives in the countryside and I was always in the city. So I just felt this, and there was less to do in a way. So I actually did more exercise and probably slept better and ate better. I wasn't snacking as much because I was always at the desk at the computer. So I, unbeknownly, looking at it now, I was probably eating better and getting outdoors more, exercising, because my mum and dad used to have a big dog, so we used to walk the dog and stuff, and I was like here, there and everywhere, but away from the screen as well. And just like, weirdly, I didn't lose loads, I just lost a few pounds, but normally in the past I'd pile it on because I would go out and drink all the time.
But if 5% of the country are doing that, it would be amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, I suspect 95% are doing the complete opposite.
But then so you could just use Christmas as a time to like, let's relax, let's de-stress, and maybe just tune into your body more, get more sleep, rest more, do all the other things that we promote as healthy, being fit and healthy. Do more relaxing, de-stressing stuff, reduce your cortisol levels. Maybe you won't need to eat as much because you're not as stressed. And there's all these little things that we could do to implement a better balance.
I mean, there might be more people than we think that are like that find that this time of year is a relaxing time of the year. In which case, then, if we are going to look at this from a different angle, looking at the rest of the year, if you're someone that struggles with stress and stuff, but you have a little bit less stress over Christmas, what things are happening, or like, is there anything that you can take from that you could maybe put into the rest of the year that's going to make life easier for you?
I don't think there's many people who find this time of year less stressful, though.
Not
I think if
many.
anything, it's probably more stressful for most people, especially parents and
I'd say,
you know,
like,
with all the hosting
Hosting and
parties,
stuff.
Christmas
Yeah.
presents, all these places you need to be at different days, different times, Christmas outfits
a lot.
that you need.
It depends what stress is for you, though, I guess,
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Like, I guess we didn't have any young kids, and it was like we didn't have a massive family, and it was just like the Christmas is basically one big Sunday roast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a few days.
Yeah.
So none of us were really big drinkers. I mean, I was going out with my mates, catching up with them, but they all started like having kids and stuff, so they weren't going out as much. But like, yeah, that there was a couple of years where I started noticing that, oh, I'm actually de-stressed because I'm just not stressed out in the computer.
That's what you want Christmas
Like,
to be, don't you? You want it
yeah.
to be a time to spend with your friends and your family and your
Yeah.
loved ones and hopefully feel that way.
Yeah.
Some people are hosting like 20, 30 people, aren't
Some
they?
people,
Yeah.
Some
Like,
people,
it's like
some
the worst
people
day of my
love
life,
that.
like-
That'd be awful for me. But some
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
thrive. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got like 30 people coming. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Christmas
oh God, like there's too many people.
I've always had a small Christmas.
Yeah.
Small
Never
Christmas for us. But I suppose a lot of parents must feel a hell of a lot of pressure, especially with younger kids.
Multiple kids as well.
So
Yeah.
the first thing that's going to go really
Is
is
them.
exercise, or them,
Yeah.
like you said, yeah.
Them, they're going to come second.
And it's a shame because the best thing they could do is just have an hour or half an hour of exercise and come back to the hectic life, whatever. But yeah, I think so. That's another reason, isn't it? Like having all the stress at Christmas, it's just
There's a
gonna
lot
you
going
make
on.
people stressy, don't they? So they're gonna eat more because they're so stressed.
Let's think about a typical client that we work with, you know, because I think there's going to be differences if you're someone who's super fit, super competitive, got things you know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
going to have a slightly different approach. But for a typical client we work with, you know, normal everyday person, family life, you know, etc. How do you think what would be your advice to them if they said, how should I navigate this time of year? Go, Tommy.
My first bit of advice would be to enjoy Christmas. That'd be my first. Like, just make sure you enjoy it. Don't put too much stress on yourself. And then, like Em said before, try and conjure up a plan that is going to be doable for that person. So it may not be a case that they're going to be training 3-4 times a week, but if they can get in once or twice, brilliant. And then, yeah, in terms of nutrition, just making sure that, again, they don't put too much stress on themselves. So, like I said before, losing weight's probably not going to be the best goal, but maintaining and accepting gaining a little bit of weight would be a realistic goal. So that's kind of what I'd
Just sum the
suggest.
whole podcast up there.
Took all of your
yeah,
answers
done it.
from
Yeah,
you.
actually.
Summed up in
Done.
one. Anything else from anybody?
You've
Thanks
got
for
that.
joining
You can
us.
talk for English.
I wanted you to talk more actually. I need to
Anything-
give more stuff.
Anything
more
that
info.
anyone
Okay,
feels
we can-
differently to that or any other thoughts? Because I think that summed it up very nicely.
I would say, from my point of view, if you know, like look at the planning thing, if you know you've got parties at the weekends, there is no reason why your weeks can't be, especially if you're still working and everything, why they can't be exactly the same as they already are. You eat the same things, you go to work, you should, in theory, if you're doing the same shifts, be able to like get at least maybe 1 or 2 sessions in a week. You know, obviously things do get busier, but nutrition-wise, definitely don't think there's any reason why in the week, if there's nothing else going on, things shouldn't be exactly the same as they normally are. And then you're going to have a good, like, you know, you're going to be reining it in then, aren't you?
Yeah, because for some people, Christmas is just like 2-3 days.
Yeah,
Then
that's
they're
what it's
back
like
on
for
it,
us.
back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go out for a few days and then come back.
Yeah, and obviously you're
Okay.
going to have, like you said, the Christmas parties, like usually
Yeah.
a little bit earlier in the month and
One
stuff. There's going to
night.
be other festive things going on.
Like
you know.
Christmas market.
Yeah, Christmas markets. People go to the switch on. There's mince pies. There's more
Yeah, like
wine. There's all those
our
things.
life is
like-
different around Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah,
our
massively.
life's
We're
totally
off,
different.
we're off from
I-
here for what?
I
over a
don't
week?
agree
Yeah.
with the it's only one day because I
No,
don't think it is.
absolutely
When we
not.
look
Some
at our
people it is though, innit?
for some people it is,
Yeah.
but we look at I look at our social calendar across late November, early December. There's a lot more going on. Okay, it's
Yeah.
not all focused around food and drink, but there's other things that are socially
out of
going on.
routine.
We're out of our routine more than we would be. So it is a difficult time to navigate, but the mindset could be around, okay, the main days are the days that are going to be very different. But then, like Em said, the rest of the days, the normal days that are in the calendar, try and keep them as close to a normal day as you can. And you probably
Planning.
shouldn't
It's
be
still
too
going to be
bad.
harder though, isn't it? Because like our house would be stocked full of chocolate.
It's even
Yeah.
like
It will
advent
just be
calendars. You're having an extra
everywhere.
chocolate
People
each
bring
day.
in
It
everything in
all
front
adds
of
up.
there, and you just end up. You just eat differently,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah.
You just do.
Yeah.
The temptation's
Yeah.
far greater,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
almost an excuse of it's Christmas.
We're
Dan said before.
literally a family that don't buy them big, massive Christmas selection boxes.
See, we go the other
Yeah,
way.
we don't.
We literally
really
don't buy
go
them
for
anymore. We used to we never were big on it from what I can remember, but we've just stopped doing it because I think we're all just like quite healthy and into it. But it's not like we don't love chocolate. We just like, I'd just rather eat more of the mince pies.
Whereas
Well, yeah, I'm a mince pie.
Yeah.
I love chocolates as well.
Whereas in
I
our
love mince
house,
pies.
it's not, you can't eat anything until Christmas Day. That's for Christmas. Don't touch it. It's for Christmas.
Oh, we have that. a
So
lot.
January actually for our families
We've started
worse because you've like it's got to be eaten. You've got to get rid of it. Like you can't throw it away. It's got to be eaten. So
Yeah, you
to
do.
me,
Oh, no.
mine's after. That's
It
worse.
is like
That's a
Christmas
symptom
mode.
of an overall mindset thing, though, isn't it? Like what we said before about like if your mindset is, I need to finish this, you know, before I get, like, how many people are guilty of it? We do it. I've done it before, where it's like I'm starting on Monday, so like the weekend.
Eat all
like,
the chocolate.
You eat all the
binge.
chocolate, or you that's
rid
a
of it.
symptom of an overall issue that people are facing in terms of their approach. So I can't be healthy around December because I've got all this food in the house. This all needs to be gone before I get back on track. But that's something that I suppose people should probably try and challenge within themselves, because you don't need, you know, you're not a bin. You don't need to finish everything before you know, there's no reason that some of those chocolates can't stay till January,
Because
February.
chocolate lasts for ages.
Yeah.
Mince pies do as well, but they're just there, aren't they? It's Christmas. They're out on the shelf. You're like, I saw them on the shelf the other day. I'm like, it's not.
I've not had
December
one
yet.
yet.
No.
I actually, for me,
It's
I'm
early
like,
though, innit?
I'm not getting them
It's only
until at
October.
least until December. But everything's out early.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
no. I was tempted. I nearly got myself a treat. I'm like, oh.
As soon as it hits December, everything's out the window.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is, but then a little bit of willpower is needed. But like, give yourself some limitations, but also balance and perspective, and
Yeah.
like you said, expectations. Just meet yourself halfway, and just be realistic.
Yeah. That's the main
That would be
message,
my
innit?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My point of the questions on my brain. How would you approach people that are calorie tracking?
Don't.
Don't.
Yeah, what a terrible time to be calorie tracking.
Whereas I would,
I
you
guarantee
see,
there'll be
I
people out
would.
there think about it.
I would calorie track in the week.
I think my thoughts on that would be, unless you are prepping for a bodybuilding show and you need to be unbelievably accurate, I wouldn't even try and do it personally around December, especially on the big main days. There's no reason you can't do it on the normal days, though, like we spoke about. If you're someone who thinks, I want to gain as little as I can, then all the normal days that you have complete control over, there's no reason you can't do that on those
Control
days.
over, yeah. So track when you can. Don't stress if you can't, because the stress is going to set you up for failure, and then the failure is going to make you think, well, fuck it, and then you're probably going to overeat anyway. So again, it comes down to like being realistic.
And also, as well, if you are someone that is trying their best to gain as little over the holidays and you are calorie tracking, for the love of God, do not weigh yourself in the week after Christmas, because your weight's going to be up.
Yeah, you're just going to make
So that's just the volume of food, not necessarily the calories, it's the volume of food that you're eating more than anything is going to bump it up. So stick to your calories when you can, except the days where it won't happen, like Christmas, because we all have celebrations for breakfast. And then and Prosecco. And then start back in January and then start weighing again from there. If that's something that is important to you, and you know that you just want to keep on track as best you can.
But I do think enjoy it's the main message. I think we've been quite strict with it. But yeah, like, you've got to enjoy it. It's a good time of year. You're seeing loads of people. And if you've been good all year, like a lot of people do track all year round and try and be as good as they can. So it comes to Christmas, and I think, let yourself have a bit of rest.
Yeah.
Your body needs it, doesn't it? Yeah, enjoy it as well.
There's too much pressure.
It is. I think that's what it is. Yeah. I think Christmas is about enjoying it, but then people do put pressure on themselves. They don't want to put much weight, and then it comes to January, and it's the panic of trying to get it off, isn't it? But
Yeah, what is
January
that
felt like a
panic?
shit time of year.
What is the panic? Where does it come from?
New year, new me.
Is it because you put it
There's
on
an
so quick?
expectation, isn't there, to
Yeah.
improve?
Yeah.
I think it depends on the relationship people have with their weight. Like some people, if they struggle with their weight and they have a difficult relationship with their weight, it's always going to be hard. Whereas there'll be a lot of people who will weigh in January and think, okay, I'm half stone heavier, but I know why, because I've ate terribly and I've not exercised. And whereas people who, they struggle with it, maybe, like you said, Em, avoid, don't weigh yourself when you know it's going to be bad. Just ignore it, because it's not going to make you feel any better. If anything, it's going to make you feel worse. So like, wait till mid-January. Get back on track in January, do all the things you need to do, then weigh yourself. It's like when you get back off a holiday, you weigh yourself and you're 5 pounds heavier. You think,
You're like,
but like, you're going to be, because you've enjoyed that time. And
It's not the end of the world.
Wait 2 weeks, then weigh yourself, and you'll probably only be a pound or two up, and you won't
water,
be as bothered
salt.
by it.
If weighing yourself is
the way that you're
the weight. It's
yeah.
not always not always necessary, and it's not just the scales. It's your muscle and body fat and all that sort of stuff. Because the scales don't give a true representation, just the weight. I listened to a podcast once and it said the whole new year, new me thing. Like you get a new day, a new month, a new week. So you could even if you like set yourself up for the 1st of Jan, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you're like, oh my god, work's so stressful. Back to work, and then things start falling apart. And then they just give up. It's like it's cool. Like give yourself another couple of weeks. Monday's a new day, Tuesday's a new day, you've got a new week, got a new month. Like it doesn't have to be the 1st of January, let's go. I think sometimes that's too much for people based on their family and work commitments and all that. So just because you don't start on the 1st of January doesn't mean, or you do start on the 1st of January, it's too much. There's another day, there's another week.
Well, you can start again any time.
You can start again any time.
There's that thing, you're only one meal away from getting back on track.
Yeah.
But people will wait for some form of time but I think there's a societal expectation on people to think I need to lose weight in the new year, or I should want to lose weight, and I think that's probably why most people don't stick with their New Year's resolutions, because they really don't actually care about them that much. They just feel that they should.
You'd be better off making resolutions like now. What do you want to achieve next year now, rather than in January when you've got this big expectation. It's the first thing on most people's list is, oh yeah, I want to lose weight. Did you want to do that 2 months ago, or is that just something that you feel like you need to do because it's a new year and you've eaten a bit more?
But that's always the question we would ask people, isn't it? Is do you really want to do that, or do you just feel that you should want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's something we ask here generally. It's like, what is your real goal here? Do you want strength? Do you want fitness? Do you want to feel better doing this? What do you want?
You can't do all of them.
You can't do everything all at once, can you? It's
Sure, people set like 10, 20 goals, don't think it's never going to happen.
I've got like 3 different lists.
Personal list, professional
Personal, professional, fitness.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh shit, I can't do it. What's going on? Yeah. So I try and practice what I preach. I have all these things, but then I try and be a little bit realistic. Maybe just one of the things, or just focus on one thing at a time. One like little step. So I'm closer to all of them. Just maybe a little bit slower than I'd like to be, but I'm doing too much. Yeah, doing too much in one go is too much pressure as well. Just choose one little goal at a time.
Should we finish it up there,
Yeah.
guys? I think we've covered that quite nicely. So I suppose the main message from all of us, it seems, is enjoy your Christmas.
Enjoy.
Set your expectations early.
And plan.
Plan ahead for those who feel that's the right thing for them, to help them navigate. And have a very Merry Christmas.
Oh, Christmas. Well done, Dad.